Good morning, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. It's not doctor. I'm from industry. I'm sorry. No, it isn't. I'm very pleased to be here this morning. Thank you for inviting me to participate. I'd like to talk to you about the MEDTEQ Consortium, which is a relatively new consortium, but I think that we've done a lot of work in the first 18 months, and we're focusing very specifically on collaboration to facilitate commercialization. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And just press here. Push that. No. Technology. Sorry. I think there are significant opportunities, some of which I really wanted to make a statement about in terms of what we have in terms of asset base with the Canadian healthcare system. The quality of the research that is done in Canada, the resilience of Canadian SMEs. Really, a lot of the breakthrough technologies, ideas, innovations come from the SME base in Canada. Quality of care. If we need care, Canada is the place to be. And certainly, in terms of international leadership, how to make a lot of the commercialization downstream easier for Canadian companies. I think that the way our healthcare system is structured, certainly there are some characteristics there to facilitate those things. So those are the bonuses of working in the environment. In terms of some of the challenges, however, there are some also that need to be mentioned. First of all, there's a greater need for collaboration between the connection of the three players in healthcare research, commercialization, and provision of care. Certainly, research is a major contribution that's required. Industry has to come together with research so that people can work as partners and bring together knowledge, best practices, approaches, complementary objectives to be able to get things to shift from an invention to an innovation and then to delivery. The third player that's absolutely essential is the healthcare system itself. And I think that the more that the healthcare deliverers or providers are engaged in the research process, the more that will facilitate solution development instead of product development versus feature development. So those three players, the combination of those three and the presence of those three are certainly something that the MEDTEQ Consortium looks at very, very specifically. I am in violent agreement with the conclusions of the research that Gabriella has been doing at the conference board in terms of how do we put together elements that will facilitate the introduction into care, concerns about procurement, procurement exercises, if they are done looking at the value of the innovation, and therefore how to facilitate the selection process, but also the implementation of innovations. That is something that we have an opportunity to look at and consider. And as we maximize that, I think that we would have a major impact on the overall flow of invention to innovation to adoption. Having been the CEO of a Canadian company in the healthcare business, I can tell you that a contract is worth 10 times worth the value of a grant or anything else. Because if you have a contract, it means that you're real. So we can facilitate certainly with demonstration projects, support, funding, absolutely. But as we become live and we have a contract that's given by the healthcare system, that means that we can go out internationally and say, yes, we have implementations in Canada. Here's the value base. And this is why we were selected. And therefore, we have backup examples of why we're there. Another one of the elements that can be challenged, that can represent a challenge, is also the fact that I think somebody mentioned the evidence base that needs to be complementary and inbred into products and solutions. Absolutely agree. I can also say that in some cases I have seen numerous examples of solutions in the medtech industry where that evidence base is there. But once again, from a procurement point of view, we have to take into account not just the functionality of a product, but the value of the evidence base in terms of the value. And if that process is done looking at both components, I think that's a winning combination. So all of these elements are items that were taken into consideration fundamentally at the design point of the MEDTEQ consortium. And I'll just take a few minutes to explain to you how we've packaged these elements and what the consortium is focusing on just now. So the consortium was launched in January of 2013. We're supported by the Ministry of the Economy, Innovation and Export in Quebec. And we're funded by that ministry, but also by industry. And what we've done is bring as many people as possible from all of those segments into the membership of the consortium, focusing on collaborative research, open innovation as much as we can. And the objective, of course, is economic development. It's innovation in the healthcare system, bring the right solutions to address priority needs, and also the development of highly qualified personnel. When we look at how all of these elements position themselves in the spectrum, the objectives, therefore, if we have the parties working together, there's an opportunity to reduce risk for everybody. There's an opportunity to accelerate the overall process because we can run things parallel. There can be components that can be run at the same time instead of maintaining a linear model to the innovation process. And I think that's very, very important. And we're focusing on the collaboration aspect of the research that's being proposed. It can be, we can run from fundamental to higher level technology readiness levels for those of you who are familiar with that. So we're hybrids from that point of view. But if everybody participates actively in the research, that means that there's a real opportunity for knowledge transfer between the researchers to industry, industry to researchers, and as the healthcare providers participate, they can also contribute with guidance from the point of view of what could be the best clinical protocol that needs to be accompanying the process of research and the end result, the product. They can also be giving important indications in terms of the pathway. Does this impact the delivery of care? If so, how do we start taking that into account as upstream as possible? So it's a very, very significant way of bringing the parties together and getting to a delivery point where there's impact, hopefully productive for everybody. So the design points, therefore, shorten the process. If we engage the healthcare institutions as full partners, obviously the communication of information, knowledge, and preparedness increases. By definition, research that's done needs to be done looking at international markets. We should be addressing Canadian needs, but the opportunity for us to demonstrate leadership in terms of global markets is also very, very much at the forefront. Building a true community of practice. And one of the characteristics of the medtech space is, and this is where it's a little bit different from perhaps the pharmaceutical space, medtech is concrete. Most often we're talking about something that you can feel, that you can touch. It can be in vivo, it can be something that you can use as a tool, but by definition, it changes the way patients look at the solution. It changes practice on a delivery basis. It changes the organization also in terms of potential opportunities for optimizing delivery of care. So the better that you have a very tight-knit community of practice where people are sharing vocabulary, approaches, objectives, and appreciation are very, very important. And the rest, of course. What we do, who we are. Right now, we've grown from a base of about 35 members at the beginning of 2013 to over 60 right now. Combination, yet again, of the representatives from the 3 vectors that I've been mentioning. 5 university teaching hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that we look to do is engage not only in the product development or components of product development with the research base, but also focusing on the value proposition. There are a lot of projects that we see that are looking at prototype development and validation. If an HTA process is appropriate for a product as it comes close to market, why not do that health technology assessment piece and start driving the evidence base as of prototype development? So there's a lot of that in the projects that we're doing. We make sure that we engage with all of the participants in the value stream, if you want. So very much the enabling technology partners from, is it nano, plastics, polymers, et cetera, are also engaged. And we bring the manufacturers in as upstream as possible because they can improve the design and the delivery of products. So the opportunity is to leverage everybody's asset base, whether it's the industry components, whether it's the research components, whether it's the knowledge, et cetera. There's funding opportunities and, of course, collaboration with some team members. You'll hear from Rebecca in a second. And the whole point is collaboration. And that's how we try to facilitate the transfer from research to innovation to commercialization. Thank you.